Children, she's saying that children like to hear the same story over and over again. They want to read the same book. Why? You didn't get it the first time? Huh?
No, I enjoyed the first
You
time.
enjoyed it.
Don't copy me now.
This is Basho's. Once again, it seems like this guy. Hey, he's a haiku poet. He writes a travel sketch, and then he writes a poem. He travels, and then he writes a poem. He's like it's called haiku and linked verse, and it's from the narrow road to the deep north, with a nice translator, which is Nobuyuki Yuasa, a Japanese translator. He's on YouTube giving a speech. And he's a renowned translator according to the internet. Of course, everything the internet says is true. I don't know what Basho would think of the internet. He would probably just continue the way he was. This is page 65, A Visit to the Kashima Shrine. So this one is after the weather-beaten skeleton and after the introduction. And, Visiting the Suma Beach on the night of the autumnal full moon. Takeshitsu, a poet from Kyoto, is said to have written. This is probably the poem you want. Crouching under a pine, I watched the full moon, pondering all night long on the sorrow of Kunagan. Is that the poem?
No.
What poem are you looking for?
Well, when we find it, I'll tell you.
Oh. We're reading the whole book because we're looking for a poem. If you can't find it, just read the whole book.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That's one way to find it.
One way to find it. Maybe we'll find something else. I found something in the last reading. On the dust on the road. Dust. Basho's dust. Are we following in the dust of Basho?
Read that.
Nah. I'm going to go to Japan and look for it then. Having for some time cherished.
We're not looking in the dust of Basho. We're looking in his beauty, okay? So,
his beauty.
Yes.
Yeah, but his beauty is in the dust.
No, it's that.
All right.
It's all about
beauty. All right. The beauty that remains behind in his book. Having for some time cherished in my mind the memory of this poet, I wandered out onto the road at last one day this past autumn, possessed by an irresistible desire to see the rise of the full moon over the mountains of the Kashima Shrine. I was accompanied by two men. One was a masterless youth, and the other was a wandering priest. The latter was clad in a black robe black as a crow, with a bundle of sacred stoles around his neck, and on his back a portable shrine containing a holy image of the Buddha after enlightenment. This priest, brandishing his long staff, stepped into the road ahead of all the others, as if he had a free pass to the world beyond the gateless gate. I too was clad in a black robe, but neither a priest nor an ordinary man of this world was I, for I wavered ceaselessly like a bat that passes for a bird at one moment and for a mouse at another. I'll read that again.
No.
No? I got on a boat near my house and sailed to the town of Kyotoku, where, landing from our boat, we proceeded without hiring a horse, for we wanted to try the strength of our slender legs. Covering our heads with cypress hats, which were a kind gift of a certain friend in the province of K. We walked along till, having passed the village of Yahata, we came to the endless grass moor called Kamage no Hara. In China, it is said there is a wide field where one can command a distance of 1,000 miles by a single glance. But here our eyes swept over the grass unobstructed till finally they rested upon the twin peaks of Mount Tsukuba, soaring above the horizon, rising into heaven like two swords, piercing the sky. These peaks vie for the famous twin peaks of Mount Yozan in China. Poem. Not to mention the beauty of its snow, Mount Tsukuba shines forth in its purple robes. This is a poem written by Ransutsu, my disciple, upon his visit here. Prince Yamato Takeru also immortalized this mountain in his poem, and the first anthology of linked verse was named after this mountain. Indeed, such is the beauty of the mountain that few poets have found it possible to pass by it without composing a poem of their own, be it waka or haiku. I think waka, I don't know if that's linked verse. Waka is a poem, waka or haiku. But I thought he didn't even know the term haiku. How could he talk of haiku? He wrote haiku. But it's a label. Scattered all around me were the flowers of bush clover. As I watched them in amazement, I could not help admiring Tamanaka, who was said to have carried sprays of bush clover in his luggage all the way to Kyoto as a souvenir. Among the bush clover were other wild flowers in bloom, such as bellflower, valerian, pampas, large and small, all tangled in great confusion. The bellowing of wild stags, probably calling their mates, were heard now and then, and herds of horses were seen stepping proudly as they trampled upon the grass. We reached the town of Fusa on the banks of the river Toni towards nightfall. The fishermen of this town catch salmon by spreading wicker work traps in the river and sell it in the markets in Edo. We went into one of the fishermen's huts and had a short sleep amidst the smelly, fishy smell. Upon waking, however, we hired a boat, and descending the river under the bright beams of the moon, arrived at the Kashima shrine. That's where they're going, a visit to the Kashima shrine. That's the name of the sketch. We reached the town of Fusa on the banks of the river Tone. On the following day, it started to rain in the afternoon, and in no way could we see the rise of the full moon. I was told that the former priest of the Kamponichu temple was living in seclusion at the foot of the hill where the shrine was situated. So I went to see him and was granted a night's shelter. The tranquility of the priest's hermitage was such that it inspired, in the words of an ancient poet, quote, a profound sense of meditation in my heart. And for a while, at least, I was able to forget the fretful feeling I had about not being able to see the full moon. Shortly before daybreak, however, the moon began to shine through the rifts made in the hanging clouds. I immediately wakened the priest, and other members of the household followed him out of bed. We sat for a long time in utter silence, watching the moonlight, trying to penetrate the clouds and listening to the sound of the lingering rain. It was really regrettable that I had come such a long way only to look at the dark shadow of the moon. But I consoled myself remembering the famous lady who had returned without composing a single poem from the long walk she had taken to hear a cuckoo. The following are the poems I composed on this occasion. How could he have written poems we composed? The following are the poems we composed on this occasion. Poem. Regardless of weather, the moon shines the same. It is the drifting clouds that make it seem different on different nights. Written by the priest. Swift the moon across the sky, treetops below dripping with rain. Written by Tosie. Having slept in a temple, I watched the moon with a solemn look. Written by Tosie. Having slept in the rain, the bamboo corrected itself to view the moon. Written by Sora. How lonely it is to look at the moon, hearing in a temple eavesdrops pattering. Written by Soha. Poems composed at the Kashima Shrine. Poem. In the days of the ancient gods, a mere seedling, this pine must have been. Written by Tosie. Let us wipe out in solemn penitence dewdrops gathered on the sacred stone. Written by Soha. In front of the shrine, even stags kneel down to worship, raising pitiful cries. Written by Sora. Poems composed at a farmhouse. Poem. A lonely crane in the half-reaped paddies, the autumn deepens in the village. Written by Tosie. Under this bright moon over the village, let me help the farmers harvest rice. Written by Soha. The farmer's child, rolling rice, arrest his hands to look at the moon. Written by Tosie. Potato leaves on the incinerated ground. I waited tiptoe to rise the moon by Tosie. Poems composed in a field. End of chapter. That's haiku poetry from Japan with both Basho. Basho's poetry. The deep, narrow road to the deep north.